Whereas 10, 15 years ago, we'd say, I hope that our potential manufacturing expert is watching the 7 o'clock news or the 11 o'clock news in the morning, and we're hoping that he's watching our ad.
Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today is a brand new rock star. I'm super excited to dive into the conversation today. He's the founder of Ridge Media, and he has a scientist mindset to the world of marketing. I love that. He's blending data with creativity and strategy to drive real business results. Kenny Ridgell, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I look forward to it, Kirby.
Absolutely. So, one of the things, and we talked about data, right? Like there's so much data out there today, and that's great. Like it's good to have those metrics, but how can you make sure you're measuring metrics that actually drive ROI?
Love that question, because I would say one of the things that kind of spurred me into starting my own agency was I ran an app that was a city guide. I told you, like happy hours, food specials, concerts. And, the number and the metric that we were all super concerned with when we started the company was how many people are downloading the app, how many people are looking every day. Those things were very important to us in terms of activity and engagement. And then what all business owners come back to realize is I also need cash.
Yeah.
Through that, we started trying to figure out, okay, how do we fund this app if all we're just worried about is users? We've got to find some way to get sponsors or advertisers. I started going to business owners trying to ask them if they would advertise on our platform. What I found at that time was a lot of people were willing to advertise, but no one really knew what their advertising was doing. So every business owner I walked into is, well, we're doing a lot of advertising. I don't really know how it comes back to us in terms of dollars. So, you had this iffy commitment. Okay, we'll give you some money, but I need to see the results from it. And of course, when you run an app and people are just getting eyeballs on there, it was kind of tough to connect the expense back to an ROI. So what we did was actually kind of really, as me being a business owner too, I was like, okay, well, I got to figure out what my advertising gives me in return on investment. So before I can ever talk to a customer about what theirs does, what we started doing was looking at, based on your industry, of course, let's take hospitality, for example. Really what we're trying to look for is, number one, what are the amount of conversions and what is a conversion in your mind? Is it a website click? Is it a viewing of the room? Is it someone clicking book now? All of those still could not equate back to revenue in your pocket. Being that I was a business owner, what we try to do is sit down and say, okay, let's set up tiers. If we call it a grade 1 conversion, or a low conversion would be a clicking on the book now button, but an overall true booking and conversion would have dollars attached to it. So What we do is we sit down and really what we're trying to monitor is either phone calls if your business is a service-based business, or say you're healthcare, private practice. But if you're a hospitality booking agent, say you have a restaurant or a hotel, how many people are actually coming and spending money at your property? So what we're trying to do is really connect that true expense back to how you make money and put it into your pocket.
Yeah.
That really boils down to using some artificial intelligence to track and generate the reports. We use a thing called CallRail. It's a free tool that everybody can go in and plug in. If you cross a certain amount of minutes, you do have to pay for it, but it actually records all the phone calls that come in. It gives you all the form leads that come in, tells you all their impression points, where they found you, how many times they touched you, and then it gives you a true cost per call and a true cost per basically conversion. You can listen to all the calls. It'll transcribe and give you a thumbs up or thumbs down, so you know quickly what channels are working to make you money rather than just getting you clicks to your website. Because it'd be great if I came back to you, Kirby, and said, hey, this month we got 10,000 clicks. And you're like, well, Kenny, I made $1,000.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be very happy with the return on investment there.
Yeah, no, I love that. And again, part of it's just trying to figure out, kind of beginning with the end in mind, right? What is it that you're actually trying to accomplish? And I think it's amazing how few people actually have that conversation, that think through. They're like, they want to throw a bunch of shit against the wall and hope something sticks, right? And I think the way you're talking about, it's you can't have metrics that actually drive ROI until you figure out what the ROI is that you want to accomplish. So yeah.
Yeah, the spaghetti method is what we always call it. Everybody likes to see what sticks, throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously you live in this space, right, where we are measuring the metrics, but what do you view as the future of marketing analytics?
I mean, I'll put it this way. There's a new thing that's come out recently in the last couple of years with Google called Performance Max. And one of the things that allows us to do with that is kind of like local advertising, is it actually will attach your device ID to your location settings. You have to have a certain amount of impressions, certain amount of views to get this data unlocked. So basically, if you're spending a couple $100 a month, you may or may not see it. But if you get like $500, $1,000 a month, still a minimum threshold, it's not a ton. You can start seeing the number of store visits you get. So that in itself is like, we're crossing the bridge from, privacy to potentially maybe, some people may see that as like a gray area. Obviously, I wouldn't tell that Kirby came, but I could say I ran an ad. We had X number of impressions. You can see out of those impressions who clicked on it and then who actually came to our restaurant or to our business. Even if you're a healthcare practitioner, it's a very important thing to know. Okay, this month I had this many number of get direction requests, but these many people actually came to my office that were new that saw my ad. Because just get directions could be repeat customers. It doesn't mean we actually drove new customers. Whereas these new store visits actually really hone in on like just the advanced data calculation that you can just derive in today's marketing is no longer just a guessing game of, well, the guy that clicked on get directions, were they new people? Were they old people? It's like these were officially new people that came in there. And I think you'll see that bridge continue to be like crossed in terms of what level of privacy and data we can like really glean without touching your personal information. They're finding all these new ways to basically give us that level of like behind the scenes information without disclosing private confidential data. I don't know if you've heard of like Pearl Driver, but it's a tool that's an artificial intelligence tool. And if you search right now, like say you type in, you play like plumbing, heating and air in your city, it's going to pop up. Someone can actually buy Pearl Driver, and it's really relatively inexpensive. It can be like basically $250 to $500 a month, and it'll actually send you the phone number and email of anybody that searched that keyword in your area. You can plug that into like a go high level type of campaign. You can start sending them emails, automated text messages. You can put them in your programmatic campaigns, start sending them like, video display campaigns. And at the end of the day, getting those multiple touch points you want, but really deriving it back to like, how did we get Kirby's phone number and email so that we knew specifically to target him because he searched us and Googled us. So it's kind of you're piercing a level of like privacy veil that is yet to be closed on the internet.
That's really interesting stuff, Kenny. That's really good. So it kind of leads nicely into my next question, which is AI, right? Everybody, that's the buzzword in every industry, and as it should be, right? So how can we use AI? And you talked a little bit about this, but how can we use AI to create better marketing or better results?
Yeah, it's actually like one of the things I talk about with our customers when we first start is, I think there's a misconception in today's market that, you have to be everywhere. For example, I would take like we have some like logistics companies and they might think I need to be on Twitter, on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm not really sure that's where all of your customers are residing. Who are you looking for? Are you looking for brokers? Are you looking for manufacturers? Let's try to identify who your core customer is and then find those people rather than trying to have to guess where those people might be. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, we'd say, I hope that our potential manufacturing expert is watching the 7 o'clock news or the 11 o'clock news in the morning, and we're hoping that he's watching our ad. Or we hope that we put a billboard near his manufacturing plant so he drives by it. Now it's a matter of once you get that device ID, their phone number, their email, you can upload that into these like artificial intelligence matching programs, and it'll basically ensure that with that 70 to 80% accuracy that you're going to see that ad on a variety of different platforms throughout the month. So really what we call that is like, the omni-channel approach. I think so many people think they need to be everywhere and then they have broken messages. So one billboard's telling like, we're trying to talk to Kirby. Kirby's driving to work. The billboard says something different. He sees a video online. It says something different. He goes to social media. It says something different. What is our core messaging? How do we clean it up? And then how do we make sure that we're not wasting dollars with our spend, right? Because if we're doing 7 o'clock news, we're hitting a bunch of people that have nothing to do with logistics. Whereas if we know these are the core, like we can buy a data list, you can go to Data Axle, some of these different data providers, buy the credit card data, buy Expedia data. Shoot, you can go to LinkedIn and just export people who have like titles and roles and specific types of company size, revenue, metrics, anything like that. So you're basically ensuring that all of your channels are actively pursuing the people who want to win, rather than just putting a billboard on the side of I-85 and hoping, well, it's near their manufacturing plant. I hope the right person's seeing this on their way to work. What if that person works remote?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, that is super interesting stuff. So we talked about metrics, and I know that you and I were talking right before we started recording. I send out some other questions, and you'd mentioned one, and I want to refer to it, is one piece of advice that you hear that you think is wrong. Are you okay with me going off script on this? Because I'm always curious to hear from people on this.
Yeah, I actually just touched on it for a moment. I really think that social media is like a complete misunderstood platform today. I mean, you have so many B2B businesses that think, okay, I need to post 12 to 14 times a month. I need to have 6 to 7 pieces of content. I need to have videos. At the end of the day, I'll kind of draw out a scenario. For example, we had a customer that we basically worked with in New York. We did a campaign for him. He referred us to someone else. That guy started looking at our stuff, realized we might not be the correct fit. Another one of his friends, he interviewed multiple agencies. He then passed us to another person. So now we've had 2 referrals. This guy comes and looks at our website. He sees my LinkedIn page. Then he goes and he starts searching on Google. We come up again. I see that he clicks a pay-per-click ad. He calls me. So I'm like, okay, where was like what gets the credit here for the campaign, right? Of course, he went and looked at my social media. So you could say social media takes some of the credit. I do think there is a level of like credibility that has to be checked by having social media done. That does not mean that I have to post 12 to 16 times a month. And I don't think you need to be posting about birthdays and whatever the month. I think at the end of the day, make sure your content is relative to what your customer is looking for. Be more direct. So social media, a lot of times, especially if you're a product-based company like Nike, go ahead, support the lifestyle. But if you're a company that's a B2B manufacturer that's selling carbon fiber, we don't need to talk about birthdays or what we ate for lunch. We need to talk about what our product is, what our competitive advantage is, so that customer who got the referral, went to your website, goes to your social media, they see relevant information right at the top. So I think you can reduce the number of posts. You don't need to be posting so much. You don't need to be posting about all this whole life and like being vague with what you're doing. Just go ahead and be direct. Tell the customer who you are and what you're about. Because really what you're trying to do is set yourself up for when someone searches you to find you, your social media helps sell you. Whereas if they come on there and the last 7 posts are about birthdays and lunches and whatever the heck you want to do with your lifestyle, it doesn't actually help like give you that reputable source of credit check. And I think so many people particularly just hear this like the deafening noise of you've got to be on social media, you need to be posting more. I can't tell you how many customers call me, well, Kenny, I want to post this, can we post that? I'm like, well, we can use your resources and your like marketing dollars there, but at the end of the day, some of that is just, I'm not sure, it's might a bit wasteful, especially if you go back to the scientific method you talked about. What we're trying to do is set up 3 to 4 channels, spend a similar amount of money, let the data and experimentation run, and at the end of 90 days to 120 days, you're going to know, okay, well, Facebook and LinkedIn, those were dead. My audience is Instagram. We're a plastic surgeon office. It's more about aesthetics. This one's working great. And then vice versa, you kind of just let the numbers tell you which one's working based on those artificial tracking metrics to give you the revenue from each channel. Because there's no reason to keep spending on Facebook if we know it's not bringing us the right audience, or LinkedIn, or vice versa. Whatever the channel is that are not profitable, don't keep wasting your dollars there. You don't need to set it and forget it and just let it go for a year. Let's make like actual decisions as we go and treat it like a scientific experiment, right? Control some variables, take some other variables that are not fixed and manipulate those and see what results you can get.
Man, that's good stuff. This is like a masterclass, Kenny. Where can people find more information about you?
Yeah, you can go to our website. It's ridgemediallc.com, or you can follow us on Instagram. Of course, we are active on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. That's where we find most of our business owners and marketing directors all do live. For example, I might be one of those people who has an X that I have not posted on in a number of years. I think all of us can fall guilty into that category. But we determined X was not really where our customers were. So we let that platform die, and I have no regrets about that.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. I really appreciate it. I think this is going to be one of those that I kind of listen back to for some strategic advice. So thanks for doing this. We'll have to do it again sometime, okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Kirby, and hope you have a great day.
You too. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.